Hey, this is Brett the Hitman Hart, the best there is, best there was, and the best there ever will be. And you're listening to the Smacked Raw podcast.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Smack Raw Podcast, your one-stop shop for all your wrestling recaps, reviews, pay-per-view predictions, top 10 lists, all that other good stuff. My name is Vince. I'll be your host today, and I got my good friend Jay Thunder. What's up, my man?
What's up? What's up? Chi-Town is invading Raw. Well, actually, no. Technically, it'd be Chi-Town invading Raw, and
Right.
on top of that, NXT's invading Raw. So, because we're the NXT team, baby.
Yeah. So, obviously, if you guys listen to the podcast, me, myself, and Jay Thunder were like two of the mainstays of the NXT podcast. And it's kind of fitting that the two Chicago guys and the two NXT podcasters come in and take over the Raw recap because Chicago took over WWE for the whole weekend from Friday Night SmackDown all the way till Monday Night Raw tonight, last night. And it was four great shows. I enjoyed all of them. I was lucky enough to be at attendance at all of them. Obviously NXT won Survivor Series, so that's a good like sticking it to the other brands, which is kind of cool. Overall, I enjoyed myself, and I really enjoyed myself last night at Raw. It was a good show. It started off with Seth Rollins kind of addressing the locker room, because when I was at the venue, like the theme song for the Raw show started playing, and everybody started coming down the ring. Everybody was surrounding the ring, and then out of nowhere, Seth Rollins just climbs into the ring, is in a nice black suit, and starts doing the promo. And the gist of the promo, Jay, is that he's basically blaming everyone around the ring, every single member of the Raw roster, for Raw having the record at Survivor Series. But a couple things that I noticed was like he called out Randy Orton. Randy Orton decided, you know what, I'm walking out on you. It did like a jerk off hand motion as he was leaving. He called out Charlotte. Charlotte gave him like the funniest facial reactions I've seen. She walked out too. He called out Ray and said that Ray's the one that let the Raw roster down the most, because he wasn't able to get the job done against Brock Lesnar and bring the title back to Raw, because as we know, Brock Lesnar defends it whenever he freaking feels like it and shows up in a whim, I guess. And Ray left too. He actually called out the Authors of Pain. Nice little like foreshadowing for the end of the show. But he called them out, saying, "You guys are destroyers. You guys are all about violence for the sake of violence. But you guys were nowhere to be found. We could have used you guys last night. You weren't there last night. We don't need you tonight." He kicks them out, and he goes down the roster and kind of like attacks everybody. But like one thing I was gonna say is like, yo, man, if I'm the Viking Raiders, I'm kind of mad, bro, because I'm the only one that got to win for Raw. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, right? Like if the
Yeah,
Viking,
exactly. Like, I don't understand, like, why, you know, Seth didn't like say nothing about the War Raiders, because they are not the Viking Raiders to me. We already talked about this.
okay,
Um,
so he called out everyone around the ring. But if I'm Eric and Ivar, I'm like, no.
if you're Hanson and Rowe,
Okay, okay, Jay, if you're Hanson and Rowe, if I'm War Raiders, I'm like, yo, Seth, we're the only team that came out there and got a win. We didn't let nobody down. In fact, we're the only one that actually held up there into the bargain. That's including
if
Seth
anybody,
Rollins.
Seth, you let us down. Like,
Exactly.
they should have. Oh God.
Exactly, bro. Oh, okay. So that was the whole thing. He calls everybody out, and then eventually the entire roster leaves, right? At that point, everybody's leaving. Seth Rollins is doing his promo, saying like, I want Raw to be the best brand." He was giving his best Raw speech, but he was coming off as a dick. Oh, also one thing to note: the Chicago crowd was chanting CM Punk at him pretty heavily, and he addressed the CM Punk rumor, saying like, "Oh, I try to get him here, but he's more busy going to like an office or like a studio in California on Tuesdays and talking about a change that he's not being a part of or whatever." So he calls out and addresses the CM Punk chance, which gotta admit, being at attendance, shut everybody up. So I give him credit for that.
Spoiler alert, though.
Yeah.
If anyone, spoiler alert, if anyone didn't catch that, or hasn't paid attention to wrestling news after last night, apparently a certain someone is very, very upset about the fact of the address of CM Punk.
Exactly.
So,
Perfect
just thought I would
segue.
let you.
No, yeah. I'm
Oh,
glad you brought that up because I almost forgot about it. Because before we started recording, I actually did saw the reports of Vince McMahon saying that he was livid that he even addressed the CM Punk chants. Which, I mean, if you're Seth Rollins, like you're at a certain point where like I'm gonna do what I want. I'm already getting booed by the crowd. I'm doing everything I can to try to get over, and it's not working. Like what's Vince McMahon gonna do? Like I'm like one of his biggest faces on the roster. He's not gonna like fire me. So
I
worst
mean,
case.
at this point, we can just stop by saying that Seth is supposed to be this face, but he's not being a very good face.
So,
So,
okay, so without spending too much time on this segment, would you say that this is a slow descent of Seth Rollins turning maybe a little bit heelish, especially given what we
I
saw at the end?
absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely. Like I feel like this is just the beginning of that. Like I feel like everyone, it's a slow turn.
right.
Like I feel everyone since everyone's on his is on his bad side now.
Mm,
Now he's gonna turn his back on the crowd, so
gotcha.
on the fans. So
Gotcha.
I expect it maybe give it about I say 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, so and here's the thing: if he is turning heel, every good heel needs a good baby face to like go up against, and it looks like they might have found the right guy. Because Kevin Owens obviously is probably one of the most over baby faces this weekend because he joined Tommaso Ciampa's War Games team, and he kind of got eliminated pretty early on in his Raw. In the Raw elimination match in the Survivor Series match, but they were teasing some tension at Survivor Series, and obviously this is probably a storyline that a feud in general that we've seen already, a combination of Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. However, it was the other way around. It was a heel Kevin Owens with a babyface Seth Rollins, and now it looks like it's. And here's the thing with Kevin Owens. He was supposed to be the stone cold anti-authority kind of guy, and they kind of like bundled that over there on SmackDown when he was like begging like Shane McMahon to please like reconsider the fine or whatever, and made him look like complete crap. But now it looks like Kevin Owens is going back to being more of that CM Punk, more of that Becky Lynch, Stone Cold-esque character, but as a baby face, and it looks like Seth Rollins is slowly descending into heeldom. And it's one of those things where I kind of like it. He was calling out Kevin Owens. He was basically saying, "You want my spy, but guess what, Kevin? You'll never be Seth Rollins." And he was trying to take it back, trying to walk it back, but Kevin, instead of saying anything, he legit just stunned him and got the fuck out of there, right? And from there, like we went to commercials and we came back, and then Seth challenged Kevin Owens in the match tonight, which was the main event at the end. So overall, before we move on, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, you invested at all?
For the most part, I'm kind of it's weird. I'm so used to seeing Kevin Owens heel,
Right.
and it's a thing where it's something to get used to. I actually don't get me wrong, I love this Kevin Owens, but it's just weird because I'm so used to him being an ass
Right.
all the time.
But see, here's the thing: he
Like I'm
can
so
still
used to
be an
him being.
asshole, and he can still be like a heelish kind of guy. But now he's doing it towards the heels and not the baby faces, and he kind of like
That's
plays
what I'm
up the
saying.
card.
Like it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like it's so weird to see that face. That heel is just being a straight up asshole.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry. That face be a straight up asshole. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. No, I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, for one thing, I can say, even though it's a matchup we've seen already, I'm kind of excited with the different dynamics. So we'll see how that goes on. One dynamic that we haven't seen, or probably can see less of, is Rusev and Lashley. We had a little bit of that story continue on last night at Raw. It was Titus O'Neil having a match against Bobby Lashley, but the match never actually took place because Rusev attacked, which is something he shouldn't have done because, as we saw earlier in the night, he actually got served a restraining order in the state of Illinois, and he couldn't be 90 feet or 90 miles or 90 hours away from Lana or whatever the freak the stipulation was, but he wasn't allowed to be in the venue, in the arena, anywhere near Lana. But that didn't stop him from attacking and destroying Bobby Lashley. He tossed him on the table. He tossed him off the stage. He was starting to get arrested, and he still managed to like drop like a bit of like the stage setup on top of Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley had to be carted out on the stretcher. And I gotta admit, I thought it was kind of funny to see like Rusev like being handcuffed and try to dragged away by like a million security guards and just laughing about the whole situation. Legit, at this point, Rusev has reached the no fucks giving, no fucks given attitude in this whole storyline. He's like, I don't care if I go to jail for the rest of my life. I'm gonna mess up Bobby Lashley.
I am loving this as much as everyone is hating this storyline. Like, there are certain parts that I hate about it, and there are certain parts I love about it.
Right.
This being one of the things that I actually love because they let Rusev, like, they gave Rusev a good, and I like that.
Right. Exactly, dude. And here's the thing. I'm not a fan of the storyline, but I love the way Rusev is getting this aggressiveness from him. Like, that's the best thing out of this whole situation. For me, at least, you know? So, an aggressive Rusev, and then the crowd's getting behind them. The Rusev Day chants are loud. Like, the minute Bobby Lashley and Lana come out, you just start hearing the Rusev Day chants. So, that aspect, it's working. I just hate the cringiness of that whole love triangle storyline. And I hate Lana's acting. It's so terrible. She looked and sounded like she was on like a scripted episode of Maori or something. I don't know, man. I don't like Lana's whole taking this whole thing. But moving on, that was that. Let's move on to something, because we were talking about Rusev being dominant, being aggressive, and someone, or at least a team, I should say, that's very dominant and aggressive right now is AOP. They finally made their in-ring re-debut, and they looked a little bit more...
I like how you said it, re-debut.
Re-debut, man, because, like, man, they've been doing backstage segments for the longest, and like we saw last week, they attacked Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, who were supposed to have a tag team title match against Viking Raiders last week. Never happened, so this match was a setup. That's how this match was set up, and AOP...
You know, can I say something right quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I hate the fact that they're really just jobbing out Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Like, they are actually really good wrestlers. And, you know, I figured, you know, oh yeah, they got their nice little stint as tag champions, but, you know, it just feels like, oh, that was about as high as you were gonna get. It just feels like Zack Ryder all over again with the Intercontinental Championship.
And here's the thing, like you were saying, it's disappointing because both guys are actually really great wrestlers, and unfortunately, they're just in a spot right now where, you know, that's where they're being positioned in the card because they're trying to make AOP look dominant. And here's the thing, one thing I noticed is that they weren't wearing the baggy like tank tops that they normally wear. They looked like they were in great shape and they were showing it off. So they were wrestling shirtless. They went in there and just basically squashed Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. And like, it's sad to see them get squashed because, like you said, they are great wrestlers, but at least they're finally having AOP go out there and have a match. The one thing I want to see, if this doesn't set up AOP versus War Machine or War Raiders, I what are we even doing, right? Like, what's even the point, right, Jay?
I mean, yeah, I would feel like they would be a good addition to the tag team division. I mean, I haven't seen. I think I've seen them more in NXT to do things, but you know, to see them in Raw and see what they can do, because I already know what the War Raiders can do.
Yeah,
like, they're pretty dominant. They can do a lot.
Yeah, and the thing with
the Authors of Pain, I really want to see what they can do on Raw and what they can bring, especially for those tag titles.
Exactly. And my whole thing with AOP is that when they were in NXT, they were usually paired up with smaller tag teams like Revival or DIY, or a tag team that just like knew what they were doing in-ring technician wise. So, or like even like Sanity. So like, I've never really seen them face off another team that's just as big as them and dominant, you know, like just two big hosses, you know, two big men going up against each other. So it should be an interesting dynamic and an interesting matchup, and time will tell, and we'll see how that works out. And speaking of time, like, it took no time at all for Rusev to actually start trending on Twitter, because during the next match, it was Andrade versus Akira Tozawa, and during the match, we had the little like Rusev is trending thing. So I mean, I guess the the segment is kind of working in the sense that they're getting people to talk about Rusev. So if that was their goal, they're accomplishing it. But going to this match, Andrade versus Akira Tozawa, I love both of these guys. You know, being a Latino, I'm going to be supporting Andrade through and through. I kind of had an idea going into this that it was going to be an easy Andrade win for the most part. I mean, Tozawa got some offenses, but it really was Andrade's match to win.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, that match was pretty short.
Exactly.
So, I feel like it was pretty short, especially considering the match that Tozawa had. That was last. Well, it wouldn't be last night. It'd be 2 nights ago at Survivor Series for the kickoff show.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a wonderful triple threat match, and it worked out really good.
For sure.
I just feel like they kind of just like jobbed Tozawa.
And here's the thing:
it could have been a good match between him and Andrade, but it just seemed like he got little offense in, and I feel like they could have done so much better with him.
For sure, man. I mean, you're not gonna get any disagreement from me. I really do love Tozawa. Unfortunately, the way that WWE is, I'm a little cynical about it, and I feel like they're just gonna thrust him into that Tajiri role where he's gonna be like some makeshift tag team with someone that doesn't really fit him, or is gonna be in that 24/7 title picture and just be a comedy act and not really allow him to thrive as an athlete that he is, because he's a great wrestler. And I don't know, man, it's just disheartening. I'm glad Andrade got the win. I kind of wish that Tozawa got a little bit more offense in, but we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. You know, let's be a little bit more positive. Hopefully things turn around for Tozawa and it's not just him taking L's left and right. But
definitely, the last thing I need right now is for him to take L's, especially with him as much talent as he does have.
Yeah, exactly.
Has.
Speaking of talent, Aleister Black, he cut a promo. Last week, we saw Buddy Murphy knock on his door, challenge him, but walked away kind of quickly. Aleister Black walked out in a way that it wasn't supposed to be comedic, but it came off very comedic. Buddy Murphy had his match with Tozawa, like we were just mentioning. Great, like, segue right there, you know, like everything's melting like it's supposed to, and he beat Tozawa. And then after his match with Tozawa, Buddy Murphy walked down the hallway, walked close up to Aleister Black's door, his locker room or dressing room or whatever, and he was about to knock again, and then Aleister Black comes out, and they were supposed to have like this very tense moment where they're staring at each other, and then that's all we got last week. And then Aleister Black did his little promo, and if I'm not mistaken, Jay, it was just essentially him saying, "Buddy Murphy, I'm coming for you," right?
Yeah, and that was basically what it was. I enjoyed that promo a lot because it was pretty straight to the point. It wasn't one of those normal promos where they just try to like be creative with it. It was straight to the point. Aleister Black is a person that is straight and to the point, so that was an A+ for me.
Right. So the minute I saw that, I was like, man, here we go, another like couple more weeks of Aleister Black just doing promos and not going anywhere, right? But it wasn't the case. So next match we had the returning Matt Hardy versus Buddy Murphy, dude. Like, when you saw Matt Hardy come out when you were watching Raw, what was the first thing that came to your mind? Like, because like I wasn't expecting it.
The first thing that I was thinking was like, well, because I didn't see the entrance,
right.
So what wound up happening was that I was literally, because I was on my computer, and I look over, and I see Matt Hardy in retro gear, and I'm like, what? Matt Hardy? What? What's going on? Like, what did I miss? Like, I was like, what did I miss? Like, what happened that Matt Hardy, like, he literally looked like he was, he literally looked like he was years ago, except, he had the streak in his hair. That's basically about it. And I was trying to figure, I was like, yo, what's the deal?
Right.
What happened, Matt? Like,
I don't know, man. It's kind of disappointing seeing Matt Hardy. Not saying that it's disappointing in general to see Matt Hardy. It's disappointing to see where his character is right now, because I was so geeked up for him to do the whole broken Matt Hardy stuff, and they just never really took off like it was supposed to, man. They had the really good ultimate deletion match against Bray Wyatt in the Hardy compound, and I thought that was amazing. But that's like the extent of like the broken brilliance that we were supposed to see. But going back to this match, it was a little brilliant, I guess. It was good, like Matt Hardy got some of his stuff in, Buddy Murphy did his thing, but in the end it was a Buddy Murphy win. He did have his nose busted open, so Matt Hardy did get some licks in, what you thought of the match? Like, I mean, it wasn't the longest match, but
it wasn't the longest match, but it was nice to see that Matt Hardy got some good offense in.
Mm-hmm.
The nostalgia in me wanted Matt Hardy to win, but I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
But I guess I wasn't concerned about that. I was more concerned about what happened after the match.
Exactly, and that's a perfect segue because I think the biggest thing that came out of this match was afterwards, Buddy Murphy went ahead and challenged Aleister Black again, and he done messed up, Jay, because Aleister Black wasted no time. He did his little like entrance where he gets raised up from the platform, but the minute he got off that platform, he like ran to the ring. He got a lot of offense in on Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy barely escaped within an inch of his life, and it survived.
I'm sorry. That entrance will always be everything to me.
Oh my gosh, it's like one of the best.
Music hits.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
man,
go
the
for it.
The music hits, and you're like getting prepared, and then next thing you know, you see it pans to him. He's rising up from the ground, and I'm like, wow, this is. I'm not gonna say it, but this entrance could be Undertaker worthy. I'm just saying. Oh
man, dude, for the longest time, I would say that I wanted to see Aleister Black versus Undertaker at WrestleMania. Like, I legit, like, granted it was like after the fact, but I thought Aleister Black would have been the perfect man to like end Undertaker's streak and his career. Like, if you look at Aleister Black, he like ticks all the boxes. He has like that dark aura about him without him being too gimmicky like a Bray Wyatt, or like, and he fits the striking aspect of it. He's young enough and he can put on amazing matches. So I don't know. I felt like he would have been the perfect like next guy to take the torch. Like the perfect guy for Undertaker to pass the torch to. I mean, it might not be too late. We'll see what happens. But
I mean, Taker's got like 2, 3, 5, 8 matches left in him.
I guess we'll see. You didn't say good matches, so it's pretty accurate. He probably still has all those many matches.
2,
but
3, 5. I mean, you meant good matches.
No,
I'm sorry.
Those are gone. Those are gone.
I say about 2 good. I was like 2 good matches. He got 2 good matches.
Nah, man. He's got maybe like 1 good match left in him, if that.
Come on, man.
But speaking of good matches,
don't do Mark like that. Come on, man. Don't do Mark like that.
Hey man, Mark needs to hang it up. Anyway, but speaking of good matches, Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, that's gonna be a great match. And TLC is 2 weeks away, so that's probably where that's gonna take place. And man, I can't wait to see it. I hope they give him enough time because we both know that Aleister Black can go. He's a former NXT champion, and Buddy Murphy is a former cruiserweight champion. He just
cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, that's what I said, didn't I? Cruiserweight champ.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I was just adding.
Okay.
It was a lag. That's all.
No. It's all good. Aleister Black, former NXT champion. Buddy Murphy, former cruiserweight champion. We both know these guys can go. They've both been dominant in their respective brands / divisions, so they can be great. I feel like they can be great together.
Like, I feel like they should probably have a ladder match. That would work.
Hopefully, it's a ladder match. We'll see what happens. TLC is right around the corner. Well, we might be getting some good treats. But what we didn't get was Humberto Carrillo challenging for the U.S. title against AJ Styles. And I was pissed. I was pissed when this happened because I'm over here like, yo, man, just let my boy Humberto get some shine, yo. And I heard reports that supposedly, like, Vince McMahon has given up on Humberto, and I guess that kind of explains why they did the attack angle and he didn't win the title. But it's like, you've just got this guy in the draft like a month ago and you're slowly trying to build him up. It's not going to come overnight. Like, you heard stories of him giving up on guys like John Cena and Chris Jericho wanting to keep going. If he gave up on John Cena, it doesn't surprise me. He gave up on Humberto. He gave up on Cedric. It's like he gives up on people easily. Like he gave up on
He
EC3
gives up.
so
Well,
easily.
and it's more so he gives up on people that have so much potential. Like if he gave up on Cena, and Cena was the man for the past like 12 years.
Yeah, it's
I'm just saying.
it's frustrating because it's like you have all these young talent, and instead of like elevating them, or like it's like the saying says, like Rome wasn't built in a day, you know. And like
Yeah.
a star isn't built in a day. Like obviously, like the fans love Umberto. He's a great in ring talent. Everyone that's been stepped inside the ring with Umberto has legit said nothing but great things about him. And like you can't expect them to get over like with the mainstream crowd because I kid you not. There were people that were like obviously only watch Raw and SmackDown, don't watch 205 Live or NXT, and don't know who Umberto is. And they're like, "Oh, who is this guy?" Like,
because I actually don't. I actually don't know. I'm glad you put that segue in there because I actually do not know who Umberto is. Have not, seen a match with him. Like last night was my first time actually seeing him.
But see, with you, I give you a little bit of a pass because you are a wrestler. You work a couple jobs, so you don't have the time to watch it and stuff like that. But here's the thing: you probably look at it, you're like, okay, let me see what this Umberto got going. You know, you come into it with like more of an open mindset. I'm more so talking about the mainstream fans that are like going to these shows just because of the name brand that's on there because it says WWE and don't know who's on the show. And then they're like, oh, who is this guy? Like, oh, beat him up. There were people saying thank you AJ when they beat up Umberto. And I'm like, yo, man, give the guy a chance. Like, how are you gonna thank AJ and he's gonna he's gonna shit on the town in like a couple seconds, which he did. So going back to this whole thing without ranting too much about it, because I am a little frustrated if Umberto doesn't get a chance to like shine. And if that's the case, moving back to NXT, because we know down over there, Papa H, Hunter over there, he loves himself some good.
Papa Levesque over there, how that's your boy.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Over there at NXT, man, he's out there like really supporting the talent. He gave Andrade the chance. Here's the thing: if Andrade came up to Raw or SmackDown instead of going to NXT, we saw Andrade struggle initially, even in NXT. He would have been.
Hell, we saw him struggle in SmackDown. So either way, like I feel like it just takes time.
It definitely does, man. And like I said, without going too much into it, it led to the OC and AJ Styles having a promo saying like he wasn't going to take on Umberto because he was tired and fatigued. That brought out Ricochet, who then went ahead and challenged AJ for the U.S. title, and he said no. And then Randy Orton came out once again challenging for the U.S. title. He said no. He's like, I beat you already multiple times, and Randy, I beat you at WrestleMania, so you guys don't deserve a title shot. And then Drew McIntyre comes out, it's like, yo, you've never faced me, let me get a title shot, like I deserve a title shot. And it's like, no, I'm too tired from like Survivor Series, I'm not gonna have the match.
And then your boy comes out,
oof, Mr. 619 himself comes out and he challenges AJ for the title. And again, AJ's like, no. And then Ray's like, look, man, you just making excuses because you don't want to defend the title and you legit just don't want to. You're over here attacking Umberto and you're over here attacking everyone who you feel like is a threat to your title. So that's why you're attacking people. You're not really like a legit champion. You're not out here wanting to defend it. You're out here like looking for excuses and sneaky conniving ways to keep your title. So he called him out on his BS. Then Ricochet is like, you know what, yo, I got an idea. Me, Rey Mysterio, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, fatal 4-way match. The winner challenges you for the U.S. title tonight. And AJ's like, oh man, that's a dumb idea. That's like the dumbest idea you've ever had, Ricochet. And he goes up to Luke Gallows and it's like, Luke, isn't that like a dumb idea? And then Luke, I love this whole bit because Luke's like, actually, I don't see any holes in it. It's kind of compelling, actually. And I was like, I was talking to Carl, right? That's a dumb idea. I was like, I don't know, man. I kind of want to see it. Sounds kind of exciting, like we're in Chicago, like. Why not? Why not do it? And I was like, oh, well. And then AJ is like, well, you know what? Fine. You guys want to kill each other? Go ahead. Face all four against each other, and I'll pick the scraps of the winner and set up a fatal 4-way match between the 4 competitors. And I gotta say, it was a great match.
I say that was the match of the night right there. As a matter of fact, that whole segment was the match of the night.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a couple other nominees for match of the night, but this wasn't a bad selection either. It was great. It was a lot of good, interaction between Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton. A lot of reversals. Great, just all around, just a fantastic match. And like I said, I was watching it at the venue. I was in attendance, and it was a great match. I know if the crowd enjoyed it throughout the entire duration of the match, I know for a fact that you guys on TV enjoyed it as well. But it didn't take much longer for the AJ Styles and DLC to come out and make their presence known again throughout this Fatal 4-Way match, because they were out there, they were hanging around ringside, and right when it looked like Randy Orton was about to win and he RKO'd Drew McIntyre for the win, it legit looked like 1, 2, the OC pull him out and attack him on the outside. And then I guess I don't recall seeing this, but I think they also attacked Drew McIntyre as well. So both Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre are out of the equation. And this leads to Rey Mysterio doing a West Coast pop on Ricochet. He goes and tries to do the Hurricanrana, but it doesn't really work out. And then a little bit of a reversal exchange. And eventually it was an inside cradle that led to Rey Mysterio getting the win and becoming the number 1 contender. So my head ass didn't remember that it'd be tonight. I figured they'd have that rematch next week or something, but no, they actually had that U.S. title match later.
So I just gotta ask this question, since you were live, you were actually there on Raw last night. So when Ray won, what was your reaction?
When he won the Fatal 4-Way?
Yeah. What was your reaction when Ray won? Because I gotta know.
Okay, so just to paint the picture, at Survivor Series, we had a Mexican flag. My friend had a 619 sign, and two of my sister and my other friend both were wearing Rey Mysterio masks. Survivor Series, we were full on 619 section. Then last night, we had a Mexican flag. My friend had a Mexican flag. We had a mini Mexican flag. We all had a couple of us had masks, and there were actually I think a 619 sign. I don't recall if we brought it last night, but we were out there cheering for every Latino. We're out there chanting for Andrade, even though he's the heel. We were rooting for Humberto, and we shitted on AJ Styles for that. Then the minute Rey Mysterio won, so when this whole thing happened, I'm like, Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles doesn't really make sense because, they're both heels. Ricochet versus AJ Styles, we've already seen that. And if they're cutting off Humberto versus AJ because it's already happened, they're not going to rehash Ricochet versus AJ. And then Randy Orton versus AJ, as compelling as that might be, in my head, I still thought Randy Orton was a heel. Clearly, he might be more of a tweener given what we saw tonight. So the one clear thing, I was like, oh, here it is. They're going to give they're going to get a Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles as a new matchup, something we've never seen. And ironically enough, fun stat, the last time these two guys were on the same card, on the same show together was in 2002 in WCW Thunder, when they both had separate matches. And then now, 17 years later, they have their very first televised match against each other on Monday Night Raw, and it's for the U.S. title. And I gotta say, man, amazing match. You were talking about that.
It was really good. Wow. That fatal. Well, here's my thing. It was all together, so that's why I was like.
So you count the Fatal 4-Way match and the Rey Mysterio AJ Styles match all in one bunch and count that.
Yeah, I counted out to because it was literally a setup to that match. Mm-hmm. So.
And I loved it. I loved everything about it. I thought it was great because it flowed right through to the next match. I didn't think it was going to happen right after the Fatal 4-Way. I figured it might be either the main event or they save it till next week. But I don't know. I freaking loved it.
So I'm there with you. I thought that literally it was going to be something that happened last week, or next week. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that they were going to have the match last night.
Oh man, but you know what? I'm glad they had the match last night because, like we were saying, OC interfered in the Fatal 4-Way match and cost Randy Orton to get that U.S. Title shot, because it did look like he was about to beat Drew McIntyre with that RKO, and he comes out.
But it was funny though, because it's set up for something very amazing. Because as the King was saying last night, we needed a miracle. So
okay, so I gotta say this, man. Okay, so we'll talk about the whole miracle thing. So can we just stop about saying Rey Mysterio winning matches is a miracle? Because like they forced that narrative down our throats during this match. It's like, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. I'm like, how is it a miracle? Rey Mysterio is a former like 3-time world champion. He's a former U.S. champion. He's a triple crown champion. He's a Grand Slam champion. He's won titles all over the world. He's legit only 1 year older than AJ Styles. Like, stop it. It is not a miracle that he beat AJ Styles. If he beat Brock Lesnar, then okay, maybe you can go use the whole miracle aspect of it. But it's like, can we stop with the narrative of little guys like Daniel Bryan or Rey Mysterio or someone along those lines saying, "Oh, it's a miracle that they won"? Why? Because they're smaller? Like, no, Rey Mysterio is a great wrestler. And if you're gonna sit here and tell me with a straight face that in a clean or like even environment that Rey Mysterio can't beat AJ Styles clean, I call you a liar right to your face. I mean, come on, man, you're a wrestler, man. If based on how they've been booked and based on how good they both are, if I were to sit here and tell you, yo, Jay, a dream match situation, AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio, who wins? You sit there and be like, I might have to think about it, right? I mean, it's a pretty even match. It's
a pretty even match.
Yeah, so I didn't like.
Here's my thing, though.
Okay.
Knowing how, here's my thing. The only way that I can I still have to think about it. But here's my thing. Rey Mysterio is only a year older than AJ Styles, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, Rey Mysterio has more injuries than AJ Styles. So the thing about it is, sometimes I kind of judge, because sometimes I don't know if Rey Mysterio has, anymore.
I mean, I get where you're going with it, but you
want
to call it a miracle, though.
Like
you want to call it a miracle.
No, I wouldn't call it a miracle.
Exactly. So that's where I'm getting. That's what I'm getting at. Is I'm saying it's not a miracle that he beat AJ Styles. I didn't like that. Mm-hmm.
But here's my thing, though. His last match that he did was against Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
He needed a miracle for that.
Yeah, but that's a completely different animal right there. Completely different. Please, if you would say. But again, dude, like going back to this match.
Here's my thing. What about after that? Like, the last big match that he had was with Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and he beat Samoa Joe.
And he beat Samoa Joe for
the U.S. title. Exactly. So
he beat him for the U.S. title. That's what I was saying. Like, it all depends on how the situation is. Like, you can't sit here and say that it's a miracle that AJ Styles,
beat.
No. But in a way, I see, because of the fact that they still think about, they still think this is Rey Mysterio from back then.
Mm-hmm.
Small Ray.
Right.
He overcomes the odds. That's what they do all the time.
Yeah, and look, man, I at this point, it's like, without harping too much into it, because the match was great, and I don't want to just harping on one thing the commentary said. It did bug me, because it shouldn't be a miracle that Rey Mysterio can beat AJ Styles or win the match in general. I just wanted that that narrative to stop, because we got a great feel good moment at the end. Though Dominic came out, he was celebrated with his dad. He became the U.S. champion. It was amazing. I was there in attendance.
So that makes Rey, he's a 3-time.
Two-time. Two-time. He won the U.S. title for the first time against Samoa Joe. And then this is the second time he won it within the same year. So he's won the U.S. title twice this year. Hopefully this is a longer reign for him. Man.
Oh, yeah, he is. So, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that does make him Grand Slam. That does. Okay.
Yeah, so he became Grand Slam champ earlier in the year when he beat Samoa Joe. But now,
Samoa Joe for
but he didn't have too long of a reign. Because that was, I think, from what I heard, that was supposedly a botched finish or something. But I'm glad that he got the U.S. title. It was a nice consolation prize for him not getting the WWE title. And given that we know with Brock Lesnar being WWE champion, he's probably not going to be around for a long period of time. So the U.S. title is actually right now, while the WWE title is in vacation, the U.S. title is the top title for Raw, and I'm glad. I'm just happy. You know, being Mexican, being Latino, being a big fan of Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero growing up, it was a great moment right there. He actually had like a nice little like a promo that was a WWE.com exclusive for the fans there, and gotta say, man, dude, I was freaking loving it. But let's move on, man, because I can sit here and talk about Rey Mysterio all day long.
We can talk about Ray like all day long.
Exactly,
yeah.
But let's talk about Charlotte versus Asuka, who I gotta say,
I love that match. I love that
another
match.
contender for match of the night. Another contender for match of the night.
Yes,
and the one narrative that was being told throughout the start of the match was Charlotte trying to like eliminate the variable or obstacle of Kairi Sane standing on the outside area. So she kept coming for Kairi Sane, and at one point eventually just ran her off to the crowd, and she went up the stairway and just disappeared, and allowed us to have a great match between Asuka versus Charlotte without any distractions. We know these two women, these two wrestlers are both amazing, given that they had a great match at WrestleMania, and I kind of wish they got a little bit more time at WrestleMania, because I felt like their match just needed a little bit more time to be like an all-time classic. But man, they killed it tonight. Jay, what are your thoughts on this match, without going too much into it, and then we'll dive into the finish?
My thoughts with that match were freaking amazing. I loved every moment of that match. Like I said, in this whole match, I was like, you know what, Asuka can do no wrong. They talked about the whole situation. They talked about the whole situation about Charlotte mentioned the fact that she ended Asuka's undefeated streak, and she lost the SmackDown title.
Right.
It was for me. It made it feel like that Asuka wasn't a heel, like she was a face.
Right. It was an interesting dynamic to
because Charlotte was definitely. I was just saying, like, Charlotte definitely was the heel in that, because I'm just saying.
I mean,
they tried to make Charlotte look like the face, but the fact that she mentioned all of that.
I mean, she's in a weird spot, just like Randy Orton, and I guess now Seth Rollins, where you don't really know if they're faces or heels, because like Randy Orton is technically a heel because he does heelish things, but then he kind of just like been on the babyface's side, so it's kind of weird. And then Charlotte too, she does heelish stuff, but she's been on Becky's side a couple times. I don't know, so it's kind of weird. I guess it's more one of those things where it's they're like their own person and they're like a tweener, I guess. But like you were saying, she was doing a lot of heelish stuff. They were trying to make Asuka the heel, especially like with having Kairi Sane interfere early on. But like I was mentioning, Charlotte did run off Kairi Sane. It didn't take much longer, because towards the end of the match, Kairi Sane made her way back into the building, into ringside. Charlotte stopped her, then tosses Asuka back into the ring. They have a moment right there. Kairi Sane distracts the ref, which allows Asuka to hit the green mist in Charlotte. And I gotta say, man, I don't know what Charlotte did, but between the green mist of last night and the one at Survivor Series, like, she just hit more green mist on Charlotte. Or maybe like the connection or aim has just been a little bit more spot on. But I feel like she's gotten the worst of it. Like, Charlotte's probably the one that's gotten the worst miss out of the entire like women that have gotten it.
Like, I feel like she literally just got her face was pretty just like, I was like, what the? I was like, oh my God, jeez.
Yeah, so.
Like, how much does she have in her mouth?
I mean, it begs the question. I still wonder how they get that, like, keep the like mist in their mouth. Do they do it throughout the entire match, or does someone hand them like a little like packet or like pot or
like
something?
I feel like they just, they add it, like they literally add that, like, some, because I hear some people, like I heard like Tajiri, he did it, like he held it in his mouth the whole time, and I was like, what? That's crazy. But I feel like there's a moment in, like, it's like hidden somewhere in the ring, or they have it somewhere on them and on their gear,
Or
And they're
maybe
able
the
to
ref
just
has it. Maybe the ref has
or
it.
that's what I'm saying. Maybe the ref has it. Like there's so many like you know options for them. You know,
Right. But
but either
clearly,
way,
right now, in terms of winning matches, the one best option that Asuka has is that green mist because she used it on Charlotte while Kairi Sane was distracting the referee. She rolled up Charlotte, and a nice little detail that I love is that she made sure to cover Charlotte's body, like cover her face with her body, so that the ref doesn't
and on top
see.
of that, she didn't use the tights, so it
Exactly.
was a clean win.
Technically, as clean as you can get, given that you're covered in paint, but in mist, I
Yeah,
guess.
I was just saying. I mean,
Yeah, but
clean
overall,
win.
I love the
Clean
win.
win.
I loved everything. I thought it was great. We're gonna touch upon real quick. We're gonna move on and touch upon the Eric Rowan thing. He's still coming around with a cage covered in burlap sack. He bit up a local jobber competitor, and that was basically the of this segment. I don't really want to spend too much time on that, Jay. Until they actually show us what's in that burlap sack. There was really nothing to be developed here. So let's.
Well, yeah, I get that, but it seemed like I don't know what. Yeah, you were saying that it bit the local guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like kind of like he went in there and it kind of bit him. He tried to look at it, and then Eric Rowan just kind of just like crushed him. So
Right. So I mean, until they reveal what's in there, I really don't care what Eric Rowan does because he's literally just out there and like beating up jobbers in squash matches. So let's move on.
Heavy metal band T-shirts.
In heavy metal band T-shirts, yes. So let's move on to our main event, which was Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. And dude, man, the minute this match started, man, like all night, Seth Rollins kept getting
Stunner.
punched. Yo, what? Wait, what?
Stunner. No, like I know Kevin Owens went for the stunner like in the beginning of the
Oh
match.
yeah, exactly, dude. Like I was trying to figure out where you were going with that, but yeah, he did go for a stunner right away for the match, and he was trying to end it quickly. But where I was going was that the Chicago crowd was really letting Seth have it with the CM Punk chants, given that he kind of called out CM Punk. He's been calling out CM Punk on Twitter.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, he's been calling him out for the longest. CM Punk just kind of like. He gave him a word of advice on I think that was backstage, and he was like, hey, stop being on Twitter, stop talking on Twitter, just get rid of it.
Without going too much into the match again, because I think the big happenings was after the match. I mean, it's Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, two great wrestlers. You know they're gonna go out there and put on a great match. It was a really good match, a nice back and forth. And just when you thought it was gonna come to an end, AOP comes out. They come out in nice fresh suits, and they go ahead and like I don't remember who was facing who. I think it was Akam facing Owens and Razor facing Rollins. And the minute Owens went to attack Akam, Razor and Akam both just squashed and destroyed Owens. And they turned their attention to Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins is slowly getting up, realizing the situation that he finds himself in, and is getting ready to square up with AOP, and they just walk away, just leaving Kevin Owens beaten up and bruised up in the ring, and Seth Rollins just kind of like, what's going on, what's happening, right? And from there, Seth Rollins sees the opportunity. Kevin Owens is barely getting up, trying to get back to his feet, and Seth Rollins takes the opportunity to go stomp him, not once, but I think even twice. And as the show is closing off, he just mouthing words to Kevin Owens and just trash talking him. And that begs the question, Jay. Are we seeing an AOP and Seth Rollins alliance? Is Seth Rollins finally turning full-fledged heel? Because if so, we might be getting the most compelling Seth Rollins we've had since Authority Seth Rollins.
I mean, you know what? I was thinking that there might be an alliance between AOP and Seth Rollins. But to be quite honest with you, Seth Rollins played it off like really good last night. Like, that he didn't have nothing to do with, what AOP was, getting at.
Right.
But, us wrestlers, us wrestling fans, we
know better
between the lines.
Yeah.
We know better, and we see between the lines. So, it may be a possibility that there might be an AOP Seth Rollins, link up. I just don't. And if that happens, do you realize how that'd be like a dominant force right there?
Oh, for sure.
Like,
because
seriously.
heel Seth Rollins is probably the best Seth Rollins ever. and then you add AOP, which is kind of like, so I've seen a lot of people will say like, oh, so this is just basically a new J&J security for Seth Rollins, and I'm over here like, no, this is kind of like the little like aliens in Space Jam when they get the powers from like all the NBA stars, and then now they're super bulked up and become the Monstars. Yeah, so basically Seth Rollins went from having the little like weak aliens in Space Jam to having the Monstars, and I gotta say, man, that's kind of cool. That's the first thing I kind of clicked when people were making the J&J comparisons.
Yeah, I definitely. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I definitely. When it comes down to those comparisons, I think it's so stupid. Because those are, first of all, those are two huge guys. That was Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble. Like, like no offense, no offense to Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury, but you know, those are two big dudes. You cannot compare them at all. Those are two cruiserweights in that ring.
Yeah, and you're facing off
Three if you count Seth Rollins.
Oh man, some Seth Rollins shots. I love it. Okay, so before we close off the episode, Jay, any final thoughts on last night's episode of Raw? What the one thing you're most looking forward to next week, or anything you'd like to add?
I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do with Ray, because I love the fact that he has the United States title right now. It's a very good feel-good moment for me, because you know I've always been a fan of Ray ever since his WCW days.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him, you know, do what he does, and being able to, you know, just get a feel for him, even when he's older, and see that, you know, he still hasn't changed, is great.
Right. That's so good, because like you said, man, he's getting older, but I feel like he hasn't lost too much of a step. I feel like sometimes it feels like he's gotten better in some aspects.
Well, I feel like, you know, that time off really like helped him.
Mm-hmm. It really did.
It really did. I feel like it with him being in, you know, him coming back to the WWE at the Royal Rumble, that was definitely something that was really dope. And you know, seeing him not lose a step, and him looking like his WCW days,
mm-hmm.
was amazing.
For sure, man.
And like the last thing he had in WWE, I mean, he was getting bigger. You know, he actually, you know, he had a little gut.
Yeah,
and you know, he seemed like he was, you know, getting wider. And then I was like, man, Ray, don't let yourself go, man. Like, you the man. You the man for a reason. Yeah, you know.
But like you're saying, man, Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio has been getting better, and like you were mentioning, he's the man. Speaking of the man, we didn't see no Becky Lynch last night, which begs the question, what's next for her? So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. Let's see what they do with Becky Lynch next. What's the next challenger or opponent or storyline for Becky Lynch? And I gotta say, this is the most intrigued I am with Seth Rollins. This whole AOP alignment that might be happening, his feud with Kevin Owens. Can't wait to see what happens. But with that being said, I think that's it for tonight's episode. We thank you guys for listening in. You can find Jay Thunder if you enjoyed like hearing his stuff. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram at JThunder2009. You can find me.
Make sure the J and the T is capitalized.
I don't think it matters, dude. You can find me at SCS Vince. You can find the podcast on Twitter at SmackRawPod. You can always chime in there and interact with all of us there. Comment down below on this video. Give it a like if you really enjoyed it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download the episode, because it really does help our numbers and help our exposure for the show. That's all we really want, is to get the exposure and get us in everybody's like podcasting like sites, which we're on pretty much all of them, like Spotify, iTunes, all the good ones. We're on there, so keep an eye out for the next episode, which will be the NXT recap, and that's where you'll see Jay Thunder and myself. But with that being said, this has been the Smack Raw podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Later, y'all.
And remember, Asuka is bae. Deuces.